Awesome. Welcome to Modern Security, where we've built our very first course on AI security, and we will use this video to understand the course contents and what should you expect when you finish the course. So let's dive into the course contents, right? We've structured this course in 3 modules, and module 1 is focused on AI fundamentals. Module 2 is where you'll actually go and build your own tool. And module 3 is attacking and defending AI applications. Now, why did we build the course in this way and not directly dive into the security aspects? And our thought process was, when we want to understand a concept from security, before we go into the security aspect, we need to understand the technology or protocol in itself in great depth, right? For example, if you want to do security around OAuth or SAML based applications, you need to understand OAuth really well. What are the various flows in OAuth? And only then can you understand the security aspects of OAuth. And we believe this applies to everything. And without understanding the technology or protocol from a first principles perspective, it's very hard to understand the security aspect of it, the edge cases around it, the nuances around the security aspects. And that is the approach we took while building the course, right? We wanted to focus a lot on touching on various aspects, the practical aspects of how do you build an LLM application, not the theoretical aspects. So we don't go into what is a transformer architecture, how does machine learning work, but we go into how do you use LLM applications or LLM stack to build your applications. And we'll talk about more on what do we learn in this module in the next few slides. So once you finish module 1, we dive into module 2, where we actually go and build our own threat model tool. And the idea of this module is, based on all the learnings from module 1, we want to go and implement and build your own tool hands-on. And the reason we wanted to have this module is to solidify our understanding from module 1. Once you finish module 1 and module 2, we go into module 3, where we go and learn about the various aspects of LLM security from an architecture perspective, what can go wrong, and how should you think about the architecture when building these apps, right? What are the various attacks or vulnerabilities which you commonly see? And we've built labs for each one of them. So we'll look at the lab, we'll look at what the attack is, and look at the vulnerability at code level. And in the last chapter, we actually go and fix them. So not only do we look at the attacks, but we actually go and fix them. And the idea of this is, when you're working with engineering teams, you don't want to just tell them, hey, how do you go and attack or what is the vulnerability, but talk about practical fixes, both at a framework level or at an architecture level, and also talk about the code level fixes on how can you go and mitigate this vulnerability. So module 1 is to get you familiar with the entire LLM ecosystem. So what do we mean by that, right? Now, let's say you're building an application, a chatbot for your company, and the chatbot requires access to your internal data. So when an employee asks a question, hey, how many leaves do we have in our company? This cannot be answered by ChatGPT, right? So how do we leverage a concept like vector DB and drag to use your internal data when interacting with large language models? We'll look at Lang-Smith, for example. How do you add observability to your applications? We'll build our own agents, we'll build our own MCP server, and look at all these flows. And for all of this, we have practical labs where we go and implement each one of this. So for example, we build our own agent, we go and do our own embeddings and understand them in great depth. So when you finish module 1, you should be able to build your own internal security bot. For example, if a developer asks, how do I store passwords? You should be able to go look at your internal database and give an answer back. So we are essentially combining both our internal database and the knowledge we have from there and sending that to your large language models and get a response back. So once you've finished module 1, which is understanding these concepts in great depth, we move into module 2, where we actually go and build our own end-to-end threat model tool or product, right? So what does that mean? The tool does this is a very simple tool which takes a design doc and spits out risks. So we'll use all the concepts we've learned in module 1 and actually go and build our own threat model tool. Once you've finished module 1 and module 2, we'll go into module 3, which is attacking and defending AI applications. We'll first look at the architecture, the entire ecosystem of LLMs and what can go wrong within the ecosystem. So the idea of this is to start thinking about, hey, if I'm building an application leveraging the LLM stack, what can go wrong within my stack? And once we have an understanding of the various attacks within the stack, we'll go and look at each one of this using a practical lab. So for example, for prompt injection, we've built an essay review app which takes an essay and gives a output on the essay score. So we'll see how do we use prompt injection to basically get a 10 on 10 on the essay score. And the lab has all the code. We publish all the code and we actually go through the code in our videos to show how does the exploit work, what is the vulnerability at code level, and then look at how do we fix it in the later labs. So let's go back into our video, and we have a lab for sensitive information disclosure similarly, where we've built a where we've built a chatbot, a simple chatbot, which can answer users' questions. So for example, we've logged in as Alice, and then we can ask questions about the user tickets. So we'll look at how do we abuse this to view and other users' tickets. Similarly, we've built a lab for indirect prompt injection, where we will see how can an attacker we've built a personal assistant which can read emails and summarize. And we'll see how as an attacker I can send an email and get your password reset link. So we'll look at this attack and also talk about the attacks are not always on the LLM stack itself. How do you combine the LLM stack with an application layer vulnerability? Then we'll look at model backdoor. How can we backdoor a model? So for example, when you use models from Hugging Face, what can go wrong, right? We'll actually backdoor a model with a payload where we'll insert our own reverse shell command and publish the backdoor model and see what can go wrong. So when you use a model from Hugging Face, you can end up with a reverse shell, right? So we'll talk about how does the attack work, how do you backdoor a model, and then how do you mitigate this in your tooling itself. So when developers are using these models, how do you prevent these kind of attacks? We have a small chapter on data poisoning, on how do you poison a clean model. We'll look at MCP attacks. And once we've done all of this, we'll go back and see, hey, these were all the attacks in our ecosystem, right? How do we go and defend these attacks? So we will look at different aspects which you can start thinking within your application architecture, and how do you defend against these attacks, both from an architecture point of view, and we'll also look at specific examples of all the attacks we've done and how do you prevent them at code level. So yeah, that was pretty much it. The course is available on Modern Security.io. Feel free to ask us any questions on support at Modern Security.io. And yeah, you can look at the course content um, and yeah, that is pretty much it. I had great time building this course, and happy to answer any questions you have through our email channel. Thank you so much.